Alright, so in today's video, we are going to go over how to get no recoil on controller, on console. I want to talk about a ton of things. I've made a video like this in the past, but there's a lot of updated ways that got added to the game, so I'm going to talk about that. But if you guys could please subscribe. Guys, we are so close to 100k. It's actually ridiculous. Less than 2,000. I think as of recording, we're at like 1,400. So if you could please subscribe, it would mean the world to me. I want that plaque so badly. But let's get into the video. All right, so in this video, I want to really cover everything that you need. So that way you don't need to listen to any more like how to get no recoil. No, I'm going to cover everything. Like this will help you a lot. So we are going to go into attachments, but I think starting off, the first thing I want to talk about is going to be your sensitivity. Okay. If you guys watch my sensitivity videos, you're going to notice that the sensitivities have a lot to do with your recoil control. Because, for example, if I were to play on a super high ADS, I'd have to pull down a lot less on my analog stick. Whereas if I'm on a low ADS and a low sense in general, you have to pull down more. So if you are constantly changing this sensitivity, it's going to mess with your recoil control because you're not going to understand how much to pull down. So step one, when it comes to getting the best recoil, is finding a sense and sticking with it. Do not keep on changing it. It's okay if you're not the greatest on your sensitivity at first, but just make sure, the tip that I would give would look at your sensitivity right now, leave your vertical and horizontal, and then just lower your ADS. Like cater that to that. Just like go in, try it out, lower the ADS by like 5 or so, see if that works good, see if that's controllable, get to a state to where you can practice and warm up with that, and you'll be chilling. All right, so now let's say you do have your sense down. You're not going to change it a lot. Let's look at attachments. Attachments are super important, like very. So starting off, sight doesn't matter. Actually, that's wrong. I'll get to that in a second. But for the most part, ACOG sight does not really matter. Standard grip for the best recoil. Laser I use to aim down sights faster. You don't have to though. This is what matters. Okay, compensator, flash hider. These two are going to be your two best friends. On specific weapons that have basically only like vertical recoil, like very little to the right recoil, I will use flash hider on. Because me personally, on a weapon that doesn't have any left to right recoil, I'm just going to help it with the vertical by like it pulling down. That's what the flash hider is going to do. It's going to help with your vertical up and down recoil. Now, that being said, I use flash hider on a few guns. Ash R4C, Finka LMG, Finka Spear, Deimos is AK, the F2 obviously, and I think that's it. I think every other person I use compensator on. The reason why I use compensator on everybody else is for one main reason. So compensator is going to help with your horizontal recoil. So me personally, I feel it's a lot easier to just pull down rather than compensate for the left and right recoil. So I would rather use compensator so that way my left and right recoil is a lot easier to use. I only use flash hider, like I said, on specific weapons. Flash hider is still great though. All right, now let's say you got the attachments down. Now also, before we move on, actually, I do want to talk about what I was talking about with the scope. Okay, if you want a hack for no recoil on the F2, this is what you're going to run. You're going to run flash hider, and you're going to run a one-time scope. The one-time scope, I promise you, is going to make like no recoil. It sounds crazy. It doesn't really make much sense, but just trust me when I tell you this. Look at the recoil on this. No recoil. I can't really explain why. I'm pretty sure it has to do with just like perception and like visual, like because like the ACOG's in the way. But I promise you there's way less recoil with a one-time scope on. Just take my word for it. On the F2, if you struggle with it, put flash hider and put on this scope or any one-time scope, and you will actually get no recoil. Now, let's say there's a specific weapon, though, that you struggle with, okay? So, like I said, let's say it's the F2. This is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to practice this, right? Look at this weapon. So as we can see, it's mainly vertical, but it does go a little bit to the right. So what do I need to do here? I need to pull down and pull to the left a little bit when I'm shooting. So what would I do? I would put on dummies. I would put it on 4, and I'd even put them on idle. And you could change the distance if you want. But now that we know the recoil pattern of this weapon, we know we need to simply just practice close up. That's all you got to do. Start off close up. Focus on pulling down and to the left a little bit. Like this. Look at this recoil control. Great recoil. As we get better, let's back up. Let's test out our long-range recoil. Look at this. Simple. and you're just going to keep doing this. Now, you can do this with every single weapon, right? So another huge weapon that people struggle with is the SMG-12, okay? Look at this recoil. Okay, so that goes up and to the left heavy, right? So what will we need to do? We will need to pull down and to the right a little bit. So let's do that, okay? Now, just do this in the shooting range. There's nobody here to judge you. It's okay if your aim is terrible, right? Start this off here. Start off close up. Start with burst fires for this weapon, because this weapon, the recoil kind of kicks in later on. So start close up. Start up with, burst fires like this. That's all you have to do. Then as you get better, back up. As you can see, we're going and we're pulling down and to the right a little bit. If I said left earlier, I'm an idiot. It's down and to the right because we want to be straight. So down and to the right. Down and to the right. Just so we can see on the analog stick. I can't kind of hard to see, but focus on this analog stick. Down and to the right. Look at this. It's a little awkward holding it like this to control recoil, but you get my purpose. You get what I'm saying, right? I can literally get no recoil at any range because the more I practice it at further ranges, the better I am going to be. It's simple. So you gotta do is practice that. Now, another huge thing with recoil is in the shooting range, what they added in this season, okay? So they added in the cover lane. And I think this is really, really good for recoil because what this is gonna do is this is gonna allow you to focus on those like super tight shots that you would need to have good recoil control to hit, right? Because look at the cover lane right here. You're gonna only be able to see the shoulder and head of the enemies, right? So you're able to get the long range shots off. You're able to get the tight shots off. Over here, you can like only see this guy's head, right? So you can just practice this and really focus on your recoil control at longer ranges, close up, and only hitting like the sides of people's heads, sides of their shoulders. So I would definitely recommend doing this. This is a great way to practice those really, really tight shots. Like look at this right here. You can practice those type of shots that will happen in game. Now, I really don't think recoil is that hard. I think there's really only two things. Now, one thing that I recommend that I think is the best thing to do is going to be free-for-alls. I think you have to do free-for-alls because when you do the free-for-alls, it's going to put you in a situation where you're constantly taking gunfights and very aggressive, unrealistic gunfights that you won't really see in game. So if you could warm up in that scenario where there's constantly people respawning, constantly people like literally sprinting at you, that is going to help you a lot with your quick recoil control. Shooting range is also great. Definitely, I'd recommend both if you are struggling with it. But I just think when it comes to getting the best recoil, it comes down to two things. That is, one, making sure you're not changing your sensitivity, and two, warming up in that sensitivity by doing free-for-alls. I think those are the best ways. And now, if you want like consistent recoil, because like if I could just warm up, right? Let's say, oh, I warmed up, my recoil is good. But then in like 2 hours, I hop back on, or tomorrow I hop back on, my aim is bad again. The number one thing that I'd recommend, and which is why I always say to stick to one sense, is do 2 free-for-alls. You're going to do one on a operator with a 1-time scope, which is usually the defender. And you're going to do 2, which is the second one, on an attacker, which usually is on the 2.5-time scope. Just the more that you practice on these 2 sensitivities, it is going to help so much. So please stop changing them. Change them now, though, if you feel your aim is terrible and you need to, but then leave it at that. Hopefully this does help. And please let me know what other tips that you want. I love making tip videos, so please comment it down below. But I will see y'all. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. We are so close to 100K. I love y'all. Have a great day. Mwah.